everyone, and welcome to Crime in Court. My name is Heather, and this is another update in the Canton series, the Canton cover up series, sorry. And this is also more breaking news. As you can see from the title, changes on the horizon, maybe. And this is some, I think, potentially some good news. So I just released a video the other day where we find out that Brian Tully, the boss of Michael Proctor's boss, basically, so his Michael Proctor's lieutenant, um, he has been transferred or rehomed, as you know, they like to use that term in Norfolk County. So he has been rehomed to the investigative office, whatever title, I don't know. But it is believed that he has likely been demoted and potentially going to see a similar fate to Michael Proctor. Potentially even some criminal charges. I don't know. So we will see what happens with detect Lieutenant Detective Brian Tully. So, what else was I going to tell you? There's so many like little breaking things that keep coming up. Who else? So, oh, besides Brian Tully, we have why can't I think? Lynn Beeland or Bleeland? I don't remember how you say it. It's in this document that we're going to be reading over. Beeland. So Lynn Beeland is she worked in the Norfolk District Attorney's Office for Michael Morrissey. She was writing letters back and forth with the Attorney General back when those federal letters came out with Michael Morrissey. So that is another individual that is leaving. Also, she just resigned from the office. Also, the like their PR person, their communications person just resigned after both of them after working for many, many years under Michael Morrissey. So interesting, huh? Tully, their communications guy, their PR guy, and uh, I don't know what. Does anybody know what Lynn Beelan's title was? Hold on, we've got it somewhere. All right, so I had to go back to a Boston 25 News article with the Fed letters that we went through a long time ago when Michael Morrissey was fishing for information from the AG's office to find out what they knew about the federal investigation and basically to find out if they were a target. And so Lynn was one of the individuals that was speaking with the AG's office, Josh Levy, the acting U.S. attorney, Joshua Levy. Her title is the Norfolk County First Assistant District Attorney. So she's, I guess, oh, that's not working. I guess she's the assistant to the district attorney or something similar. I'm assuming something along those lines. So, we can close out of there. We can actually, oh no, here is a picture of Lynn. Let me shrink myself. Here's a picture of Lynn. And she is leaving. She just resigned also. So your PR guy leaves, your assistant leaves. It's not looking good for Michael Morrissey. Just saying. All right, so let's get out of there. So back to what we were talking about. Where's my here? Okay. So not just are all these people leaving or being transferred, rehomed, reassigned, but we also have some breaking news here. Someone found this. I'm not exactly sure who broke it first, but someone found this on um, whatever website this is, the Brady List website, the Giglio Brady List website. So this is, as we all know, good old Michael Morrissey, a picture of him. And it says date of offenses October 14th, 2024. So just recently, there were offenses of instances of misconduct that have been reported on Michael Morrissey and Ken Mello. So we'll get to Ken Mello in a second. So Michael Morrissey, district attorney, everything pretty much falls under him. All the Indiana, the Massachusetts State Police report to him. Adam Lally reports to him. Everyone who is prosecuting this case reports to him. So it really does. He's the center focal point, I think, in all of this. I mean, I think it goes above and beyond him, but he's at this point the center. All right, so Michael Morrissey, offense October 14th. And I wonder, the timing of this might have something to do with the Betterow letters, which I will get to, I promise you. We're going to read through those. The Betterow letters, I think that is the catalyst for maybe these charges, potentially. So here are the offenses. These are the occurrences that he is being charged with or investigated for, whatever it might be. So, attorney misconduct, bias, extrajudicial administrative sanctions. So, did he sanction someone that were not? I'm confused by what that means. Extrajudicial administrative sanctions. So, he sanctioned somebody outside of court administratively? Like that's your punishment? I'm going to sanction you as an administrative punishment? I think that's, am I reading that wrong? Anybody who's a lawyer who knows or understands that better? Um, Also, failure to disclose Brady Giglio material, so that's hence why he's on the Brady Giglio. And this is, I'm sure, partly because of the Turtle Boy and the Karen Reed case, because they did not turn over evidence in either case. Obstruction of justice. So those are the different offenses: attorney misconduct, bias, extrajudicial administrative sanctions, failure to disclose material, and obstruction. So that is the DA. Here we have Ken Mello, who is I'm sorry, I can't make it any bigger. I wish I could. So he is the special prosecutor who has been charging Turtle Boy, and he went MIA during the middle of the proceedings, blaming illness, and maybe he is, but he just stopped showing up like right after there was evidence to kind of prove that there was some nefarious stuff going on with the investigation into Turtle Boy. So, not just the investigation, but they set him up. They created a scenario in order to create a lie to put him in jail for what they thought was going to be 90 days. Turns out when they escalated his charges and it went to Superior Court, it took jurisdiction away from them, and the jurisdiction belonged to the Superior Court for sentencing, and they didn't have any reason to keep him past 60 days. That's their law or whatever statutes there. So he was able to get released after 60 days. 60 days is still a hell of a long time away from your family, away from your loved ones, your support system, away from your freedoms, being able to report, although he still reported very effectively from prison. He had help because all of us are very invested in what happens in this story. And it's not just a story, I mean, it's real life, but we want to all see it through and we want to continue to rise up and continue the movement that Turtle Boy started for Free Karen Reed. So Kevin Mello, like I said, is the special prosecutor in this case. Robert Cosgrove is now stepping in as an interim prosecutor, special prosecutor. I don't know because Ken Mello hasn't appeared in uh, many of the last hearings. So we don't know what's going on with him, but we do know that he also too has some offenses that are listed October 14th, 2024. And if I'm smiling while I report this, it's because not because I do not find joy in other people's suffering. I hate to see suffering. I am a very, very big empath. I don't like to see people being misused. That's my biggest thing. People being misused, mistreated. And in this case, the people who are the perpetrators are the ones that are finally starting to see some consequences now. And that's why I'm smiling because I don't like abusers. I don't like people that abuse their power. I don't like people that abuse people, kids, dogs, animals. I don't like people that abuse, period. And these people, Ken Mello, Michael Morrissey, Judge Bev, many more, Brian Tully, Michael Proctor, they're all corrupt and they all need to go. And I do find joy in getting justice for John O'Keefe because every single one of these people that we bring down, it is justice for John O'Keefe because we can't get complete justice until everyone that's involved in the cover up is revealed and Karen Reed is acquitted. That is when we will find true justice. So, all right. So that was something, a little surprise that I found out, Sunday morning, looking at Twitter or X and find out that Michael Morrissey and Ken Mello now have offenses on their records, which I love for both of them. The next big thing is, let's see, I'll use this one first. So the Karen Reed is innocent X page, they give a ton of updates daily, and you really know what's going on if you follow them. So I recommend going and giving them a follow as well as Aiden Carney, who is on X as well. So Karen Reed retweeted a comment. Okay, so here, I guess I should start here. Howie Carr is a radio personality. He's big there. I don't know. I have listened to his show only when like Turtle Boy or somebody's on. I don't really listen to the full thing, but I do. He is New England's undisputed talk radio king. Okay, there you have it. And a columnist for the Boston Herald. So he writes for the Boston Herald, which we're going to read an article of his. But first, I want to read this tweet of Howie Carr's that he just did today, a little earlier today. It says breaking, more bad news for Meatball Morrissey's attempts to frame Karen Reed. FYI, if anybody knows why they call him Meatball Morrissey, I would like to know. I know Turtle Boy, I think he explained this before. I can't really remember who came up with the meatball. It might have been Howie Carr. I'm not sure, but it fits for some reason. Meatball Morrissey just sounds good, and it fits his personality or something. I don't know. All right, so more bad news for Meatball. Hearing from reliable sources that Judge Beverly, or as we all called her during trial, Auntie Bev Cannone, is out as of January 1st as the boss of Norfolk Superior Court. So she's like the head judge there, okay? She assigns different judges to different cases. She basically assigned herself to this case, to the Karen Reed case. So, and after several reasons why she should be recused and a motion from the defense, she still refused to recuse herself, which makes you wonder why. So her current title is Regional Administrative Justice, or a Raj. I'm going to call her a Raj for right now, as in the old days of British colonial rule in India. Not sure if Raj is like being president of the Elks Club for a year or so, and then you just get rotated out automatically. But judicial sources tell me that when the Raj is replaced, as Cannone is about to be, he or she generally moves out of the rotation of the county they are the boss of, in this case, the rotten borough of Norfolk. So she would no longer be in Norfolk, apparently, if this is the case. Often, the deposed Rajas flee. They flee their previous base for their Cape missions until they reach mandatory retirement of age 70. So a lot of them have homes in the Cape and go off and retire in the sunset there. Doesn't Auntie Bev have a mansion in Centerville? I believe she does have a home in the Cape, which might be next to one of the McCabe's, perhaps, which is where the whole Auntie Bev thing came from, which was the comment uh, Sean McCabe, a brother to Matt McCabe, was texting with Turtle Boy or messaging with Turtle Boy and said, "We're going to bury you under Auntie's backyard," meaning like her cape in the backyard. Anyways, all right. So if Cannone is out of Norfolk County courtrooms, and I don't know for sure that she is, and it's unlikely to be officially announced anytime soon, to avoid further humiliation for the reeling meatball mob, any judge would be an improvement if indeed Morrissey's second attempted necktie party for Karen Reed takes place in Dedham in January. So we know that the new trial is scheduled for January, and maybe we'll get a new judge, hopefully. So, as you know, the fix was always in with Cannone presiding. Remember her jury verdict forms with no options for a not guilty finding? Remember that? No, no, not guilty checkbox. Cannone is a second generation hack layabout. Her father was a courthouse payroll patriot in Quincy Meatball's hometown. These are not my words. These are Meatball's words. I'm sorry, these are Howie Carr's words. And I don't totally disagree with him, but I just want to say they're his words. At age 63, Cannone has never worked a day in the dreaded private sector. Sorry. Her hack brother was the public defender for jailbird Chris Albert, the Canton selectman, piss poor pizza purveyor, and the brother of dodgy cops Brian and Kevin Fat Albert. In 94, jailbird Chris was convicted of taking the life of a guy in a hit and run car accident and did 6 months in the House of Corrections. In other words, Cannone is Norfolk County hack loyalty. Of course, she refused to accept the not guilty verdicts from the jury in Karen Reed's first kangaroo court trial. I just hope that being stripped of the Raj title means Auntie Bev is gone, period, from Norfolk County. Here, here. I think she should be in prison for what she did to Karen Reed. Not just stripped of ever being on a bench again, but in prison. Prison. And Lolly. It would be good justice for, I think he means, it would be good for justice. Bad news for the Just Us Corporation that has destroyed all confidence in law enforcement under Meatball Morrissey. This has not been a good weekend for Meatball. No, it hasn't. First Tully, then David Traub, his communications person, then Lee Beeland, now Cannone. He's got offenses on his record. So does Mello, who was hired by him. So there's a lot of stuff happening. And if we don't see handcuffs on Morrissey very soon, I would be kind of surprised because it looks like things are starting to kind of head as if wrongs might be righted soon, hopefully. I don't want to speak too soon, but and I don't want to get my hopes up too early. So this has not been a good weekend. The only upside, as I mentioned in my Herald column today, is that the Pats game in London started early. So it's kind of like Thanksgiving morning, and you get to have booze on your breath before noon, like before the traditional high school games, and everybody pretends not to notice. Right, right, meatball? Pour yourself another Captain and Cola in memory of Auntie Bev, the framingest judge south of Neponset. And then Aidan Carney replied to that and said, I got a tip saying basically the same thing a few days ago, but he couldn't confirm it. So he was communicating with a source, and this source says, I have a very good source who works at Norfolk Superior who said Auntie Bev is being forced out as head judge. Figured I'd tip you off so you could cooperate. He says, who's your source? They say, person is too close to me to say anymore, but they are legit. Obviously, not enough for you to report, but trust me, I believe them. Just ask around. I'm sure you will cooperate. He says, and what does forced out mean? And by who? This person says, it's someone very close to me and they work there. I'm sorry, I don't want to put their name and title out there, even though I trust you in the crazy 0.1% chance you get hacked. I just can't do it. And that's not unreasonable because the DA's office has been after his discovery for his sources since they arrested him. They've probably been after it since before they arrested him. They just didn't have enough to arrest him until they decided to weaponize a really unconstitutional statute for witness intimidation, which others would call First Amendment rights. So, all right. So the next thing they say, they weren't exactly sure what it meant, but apparently, unless you F up bad and you stay head judge, and they think the Chief Justice makes that decision, and she's been very moody this week because she learned she's not getting another term or whatever you call it. I'll try to find out the official term rather than head judge. And are these positions, does anybody know, are these positions appointed or are they voted in? Are they elected? Like, are there terms? What is she talking about? Another term? What is how long does a judge stay a judge? And yeah, if anybody knows any of that, let us know so we can be a little more informed about that. But that is very interesting comment that I thought was, and then of course Karen Reed reposted it. The Karen Reed updates page reposted it. It's not official, but it is being told to news entities, to journalists. Howie Carr is considered a serious journalist, so it's not just that they're fishing and trying to find Turtle Boy and give like some non-credible story. So it sounds like there might be some credibility to that. And lastly, what I wanted to do, actually, there's two articles. So the first article is from Howie Carr. This was in the Herald. DA Meatball needs a breather. And then we'll read also O'Keefe's ex-girlfriend supports Karen Reed. So that'll be interesting in a second. We'll get to that. So that'll be how we end today. This is going to be a rather shorter one, but I just wanted to give you guys the breaking updates. So, your Michael Meatball Morrissey, the 70-year-old DA, 70-year hack DA of Norfolk County. And on Sunday mornings like this, whoops, let me move. I like to scroll. Okay. Sorry. And on Sunday mornings like this, you sometimes dream of just heading down to Marina Bay and sailing away. Captain Ahab had his Pequod, Captain Queeg, I don't know, some other book similar to like a Captain Ahab type of book or Moby Dick. Captain Queeg had the cane, and now you, Captain Meatball, pilot the class action. Is that what that says? Uh, I can't tell what that word is. Looks like PLLOT, but I don't think that's right. Sorry, it's a little blurry. If anybody is curious, I just can't read that. All right, so Ahab was obsessed with Moby Dick, Queeg with his missing strawberries, and now you are haunting the biggest game of all, Karen Reed and Turtle Boy. Whoops, I can't. Trying to use my. Never mind, I'm having issues. Too hard to explain. All right, so Karen Reed and Turtle Boy are his biggest game. But you obsessively track those public enemies. Your scurvy crew is in full mutiny. You can't believe it. This never happened to the skipper on the Minnow. Gilligan never even considered walking the plank. I don't know why I'm having such a hard time. It's so hard to read and it's blurry. All right, this never happened to the skipper on the Minnow. Gilligan never even considered walking the plank. Your meatball Morrissey, and Friday you lost the second Conehead Keystone Cop on your state police detective unit, detective, Lieutenant Detective Brian Tully. Just because of that little why is my words just aren't coming out right. I'm sorry. I apologize. Just because of that little internal affairs investigation by the MSP, and now this latest revelation that he was hacking or extracting data from Turtle Boy's cell phone, even though your lawyers were claiming in court the phone was pristine and untouched by your crooked cops. What did Turtle Boy's lawyer call those statements? Patently false, misleading, false impressions, clear violation of due process. Tully could straighten a thing out. He put the first handcuffs on Turtle Boy. So, what if he and the special prosecutor, Ken Mello, admitted under oath to a grand jury that they had been doing exactly what they repeatedly told judges they hadn't? They went in front of a grand jury. Brian Tully went in front of a grand jury and admitted that he had gone through Turtle Boy's text messages. We'll get into that in the Better letters. But yes, he lied. He lied, he lied, he lied. Mello did. So Ken Mello, who said we never touched those, definitely misrepresented to the court. So what? It's Norfolk County and you're Meatball Morrissey. Tully was even more vulnerable in the administration of your Norfolk County Just Us than his fellow Conehead trooper Michael Proctor, now suspended without pay from the MSP over nothing. Just because the FBI discovered this by his own text admissions, Proctor spent all his time scrolling through Karen Reed's cell phone for nudes, as he put it, when he wasn't openly soliciting bribes for looking the other way in Canton homicide cases. First, first Proctor, now Tully, but then it got even worse for you on Friday. You lost your life hacker flack, David Traub, who has, as a mark of his fealty, had ponied up $2,225 to your quote unquote campaign. Remember, Michael Morrissey is campaigning for his next term in office. Not this coming election, right? But the next one, I don't think he's due yet. Or is it, I don't know. Is it 2024 that he's up? I'll have to look into that. I know he has competition, though. There have been people that have said they're going to throw their hats in the ring. All right, so you also lost Lynn Beeland, your loyal $200,000 a year assistant, not just another pretty face. She, we saw a picture of her. She's retiring at age 68 to try out for the role in the new Netflix production Childless Cat Ladies. Howie Carr is very He's got a dry, witty sense of humor. It's kind of funny. All right, so good old Lynn Beelan, at least she ponied up $5,200 to you before she took it on the lam. So she retired and now she's running scared from the law because they're coming. You're Meatball Morrissey, and you're worried now that you're going to lose your last real go to trooper, Sergeant Yuri Buchanan, that super sleuth who runs the elite rubber ducky detail mandated to stamping out the First Amendment in Norfolk County. He's a thug's thug, that Yuri, and like when he's one finger typing a report and he suddenly calls out to everybody in the office in his broken English, do anybody here know is that word cat spelled with one T or two? That's funny. At least you've got yourself a new first mate, Hank Brennan, the $250 an hour mob mouthpiece who's been tasked with framing Karen Reed in her double jeopardy second degree homicide trial in January. You're Meatball Morrissey, and you bonded with Brennan as soon as you met him. You guys have so much in common. He was a stooge in court for serial life ender Whitey Bulger, and you were a stooge for Whitey's little brother, Billy, at the State House. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Sitting in Canton, you guys can swap Bulger stories all day long. Hank can say, "Hey, Meatball, do you remember what Whitey did to Donald Colleen?" And you chuckle and say, "What about what Billy did to the State House to Paul Harold?" He says, "What about Brian Halloran?" You come back with, "Ever hear of Alan Sisitsky?" I don't know who any of those people are. And Hank Brennan says, "How about how Whitey strangled Deb Husey and pulled out all her teeth?" Oh, awful. You say, "Let me tell you what Billy did to a court clerk named John E. Powers." You're Meatball Michael Morrissey when you tell Hank Brennan that you want him to do to Karen exactly what an earlier Norfolk DA did to a guy named Freddie Weichel for Whitey. You don't have to draw Hank a diagram. Brennan's from the neighborhood. His task is putting Karen Reed in prison for 35 years for a crime she did not commit, just like what Freddie Weichel did. I hope I'm saying that right. I don't. It sucks when people post pictures of things and then I have to take a picture and then turn it into a PDF and then it's blurry oftentimes. So it's annoying. Um, Anyway, sorry. It's a Norfolk County tradition. You're Meatball Morrissey, and sometimes you wonder, where are the ethical titans of yesteryear, like developer William O'Connell or FBI agents like Zip Connolly, Vino Morris, and Paul Rico? Those were the days. At least you've still got the judges cowed. Turtle Boy's lawyers somehow discovered that threatening note you sent to two judges and the court administrators demanding that they get rid of a lowly clerk in Stoughton who dared to give public court documents to Turtle Boy. We'll get into that too. On your personal burner email account, you thundered at the judges. These actions are completely unacceptable and must be resolved immediately. By firing the clerk, you typed those words and you felt like your old boss, Billy Bulger, turning the screws on Judge George Daher. I have no idea. Back in the day. I don't know who any of these people are, except for Whitey, but obviously I don't know this story like I'm someone who's from Boston. And then when the Herald asked for a comment from the court system about the outrageous demand, the judges were so terrified, all they had to say was this: "The trial court declines to comment. You're Meatball Morrissey, and you know why you can still get away with slapping the judges because you're with House Speaker Ron Mariano, and oh, so he's rubbing elbows with the Congress. He's uh, he's rubbing elbows with the uh, legislators, and making sure that he's um, taking care of customer relations, which is what I call that, like rubbing elbow, schmoozing. It's more customer relations than anything. Um, the legislature. Oh wait, I skipped something. Sorry. Um, so yeah, he's hanging out with Ron Mariano, and if those bust out failed lawyers ever want another pay raise, they better not bleep with the boys from Quincy. The legislature controls the money just like when you were worshiping at the feet of Billy Bulger. It's the same reason Diana DiZoglio will never get to audit the legislature's books no matter how big she wins on the question one referendum next month. I have no idea what any of this is. If the SJC rules in D da 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 da, no, I don't know, Dizaglio's favor. If the SJC rules in Dizaglio's favor, no judge in Massachusetts will ever get another pay raise. You're Meatball Morrissey, and you know how the system works. Your only regret about the threatening note to the judges was that your tired and emotional state, you misspelled the names of both Turtle Boy and Karen Reed as Aiden with an E and Karen Reed REED, which means if someone did a FOIA search, well, he did it from a burner phone from first of all, like burner email. He's got some personal email he was using instead of his county email, and um, talking with judges, firing off notes about why it's improper not to charge him because he's obviously such a violent felon. You make mistakes like that, and people start wondering what condition was Meatball in when he went off the rails like that. You know how that just reminds everybody of the four-car crash you had in Milton. You said you blacked out. Of course, nobody believed your explanation except for the part where you said that where you passed out on Center Street, you were on your cell phone ordering a large pizza to go. That part of the story, everyone totally believed. I believe it. You're Meatball Morrissey, and the only good thing about today is that the Pats are playing in London, so kickoffs at 10, and nobody will look at askance at you. And if you sip a Captain and Coke or two, a bit on the early side. Okay, so he used that same joke again. You're off to the Marina Bay and the class action for a cruise around the harbor, and as always, your first mate will be Captain Morgan, your Meatball Morrissey, and you owe it to yourself. So I'm assuming all those other individuals are people that locals know, names that locals know, cases that are local potentially. All right, so this last piece I'm going to go over with you is O'Keefe's ex-girlfriend supports Karen Reed. And yes, that's true. I actually saw a segment on that on NBC's. You know what? Hold on. Never mind. I can't find it. There was a video segment of this story. I was going to show it, but I can't find it. It's not on their website, so I don't know. I must have seen it like on social media, and I don't remember where. So, all right. So O'Keefe's ex-girlfriend supports Karen Reed, and this is by Lance Reynolds, also in the Boston Herald. Boston police officer John O'Keefe's ex-girlfriend has kindled a relationship. I've never heard that word as in a friendship. Has kindled a friendship with his accused um, perpetrator of taking his life, Karen Reed, and she believes the allegations against the defendant don't add up. NBC's The Night of the Nor'easter Dateline special Friday night highlighted O'Keefe's previous girlfriend, Lindsay Higgins, and Reed's friendship. Higgins and O'Keefe met through mutual friends in 2018 and dated for about 6 months. He was like a magnet, Higgins said of O'Keefe. Everybody wanted to be around him and hang out with him. He was very friendly, very generous, always the first to pick up a bill or help somebody out. Hold on. Sorry, doggies get loud. He was the first to help somebody out. Higgins recounted checking into an Airbnb for Florida with her phone ringing nonstop before she learned through a friend that O'Keefe had died that morning, January 29th, 2022. Reed, 44, of Mansfield, is accused of striking O'Keefe, her boyfriend of 2 years and a 16-year Boston police officer, with her car and leaving him to die in the major snowstorm on the front lawn of 34 Fairview Road in Canton, a property that O'Keefe Boston Police Department colleague Brian Albert owned at the time. After attending O'Keefe's funeral and following developments on the case, Higgins said she received copies of court documents to understand more about what happened. I read everything and I'm like, nothing is making sense here, according to Higgins. Not Brian Higgins. So just remember this is what's her first name? Higgins. Lindsay Lindsay. Another Lindsay. So Lindsay Higgins, not to be confused with the fake victim or Brian Higgins. All right. So Higgins. Oh, where was I? Sorry, I lost my spot. I read everything and nothing makes sense. I'm thinking all of these allegations that she attacked him, I'm just picturing it. I'm playing the scene in my head over and over again. Nothing was adding up. Defense attorneys counter that outside actors took John's life and conspired with state and local police to frame Reed for his homicide. Reed had pleaded not guilty and a trial on the charges of second-degree homicide, manslaughter while operating a motor vehicle under the influence and leaving the scene of a fatal accident ended in a mistrial when jurors indicated they were deadlocked, thanks to Cannone making it so that they were deadlocked and couldn't give a split verdict. Her attorneys are appealing and have only the manslaughter charge remain in the fresh trial in January with hopefully a new judge, if it even goes that far. So Higgins said she wrote a message to Reed on Facebook introducing herself, noting how she used to date O'Keefe, believes Reed didn't take O'Keefe's life, and that she supports her. I've thought about you I've thought about you a lot over the last year and my heart breaks for you. Read part of the message included on the Dateline special. I've tried to put myself in your shoes and can't even imagine the pain, sadness, loneliness, anger, and abandonment you must feel. I just want to give you the biggest hug. She wrote me back, Higgins said of Reed. Ever since then, we've become closer and closer. In an interview with Dateline, Reed recounted how she dropped O'Keefe off at 34 Fairview Road in Canton for a house party after a night of drinking and with his police friends. She said she saw him enter the home while waiting outside. This was all in the Dateline episode, these things that she's saying. So she said that she saw him at blah, 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 blah. She saw him enter, find my spot. Enter the home while waiting outside in her SUV in case O'Keefe came back and told her to go in. So she was waiting for a response from O'Keefe as to whether they were staying there or not. And he never came back out. He never texted her. She was waiting for some response from him. He didn't come back, Reed said in the interview. And it pissed me off because, one, I didn't want to be there. And two, I had to go to the bathroom. After a night of drinking, you usually have to go to the bathroom. Reed says she eventually decided to leave, and when she returned to O'Keefe's home, she called him roughly 50 times, but he never called back. Hours later, Reed woke up around 4 a.m. and O'Keefe wasn't home. I didn't know what the hell happened, Reed said. How did the night end up like this? After frantically finding O'Keefe unconscious outside 34 Fairview Road, blah, blah, blah. Okay, we know all of this. I'm not going to read all of this. I just wanted to, yeah, the rest of it is pretty much the story we all know. Higgins highlighted here. Higgins highlighted how she attended Reed's hearings. Her first appearance to support Reed came in May. That's when Karen said, I tried to save his life on the courthouse steps. I tried to save his life. At 6 in the morning, I was covered in his blood. I was the only one trying to save his life. So now Lindsay, not the fake victim, Higgins, and Karen Reed have grown a friendship over this whole thing. Could you like I would sit there if I was Lindsay thinking like, "Oh my God, it could have been me dropping him off at that party. It could have been me on trial. Like it could be anybody in that situation. Any girl or, female in a relationship that says, "I'm just going to leave my boyfriend here." Um Anybody who goes to like drop a boyfriend off at somebody like a semi stranger's home. I mean, they were strangers. John didn't really know them. He knew Chris sort of because they lived on the same street, but he had issues with Colin and Chris because they're both rude and were teasing him and leaving beer bottles and all sorts of stuff on his lawns and taking pictures of themselves on his lawn when he was on vacation. So there's that. So he really didn't know these people. Karen just, they get invited peripherally, so they're scared, like tentative to even go in. And then she's waiting. It could be anybody dropping off a loved one at someone's house or anywhere, like any kind of event where you don't really know the people that you're dropping them off with, but then you're charged with their homicide when you know that that person went in the house. You know what I'm saying? Like this could be anybody in any home, any town, anywhere. Anybody could be in Karen's situation. And the fact that government is putting her in this situation, the government, the one that's supposed to be protecting and serving, is putting her through hell. It's just, it's not right. And Turtle Boy. They're totally putting Turtle Boy through hell on purpose as well, just to silence him, and it's not working, and stuff's about to get real with people's positions being transitioned or left. We'll see. We will see what happens. Hopefully, we'll be seeing handcuffs on some of these individuals soon. So that's all I have for you today. Sorry, that did go a little longer than I anticipated.